dying on duty will be permanent. Take care of your breath. These are the first words we hear at the start of our shift, a stark reminder of how dangerous our work really is. A job that places us on the edge between life and death, threatening the very essence of life itself, breathing. It may not be the most optimistic or uplifting way to begin, but it's still a job the protagonist foolishly is excited to take on. As we work in a mysterious station atop the peak of a mountain in the border of our nation, juggling between tasks and biting down on specially designed air cans to supply ourselves with oxygen, we uncover dark and sinister secrets about what we actually do in this place and the grim reality of what the government does to make the nation keep its livelihood, or at least as they claim it to be. The developer of the game, Julian, pointed out in an interview with Point and Think that the plot of the game is political and the sense of nationality plays an important part in it. Right off the bat, we get a list of countries to choose from, and the game will accordingly play out in the corresponding nation. We will have to make tough decisions, having a risky job, and something that will have consequences, with the lives of many in our hands. So this already gives me a good idea what the plot hidden in plain sight might be about. Hi there, I'm R, your narrator, and as you chose on a poll yesterday on the channel's community posts, I will cover the game known as Threshold. It's an open-ended game in terms of the story and its symbolisms, so it's gonna give us a lot of room for interpretation. To better understand the plotline or the message the game is trying to show us, let's go over a summary of the story. As a citizen of the country, we are a new recruit at a government maintenance job in an ambiguous station high in the mountains. The protagonist is having his first job ever, which portrays he might be very young and someone who isn't very experienced in life. Ideal type of person for the government to use and abuse, control, and finally dispose of if anything goes wrong. He happens to be very excited as it is a government job, being well paid and having free healthcare for oral health and respiratory system. These are two of the most crucial body systems which are involved in this job. As we learn, being so high in altitude impacts the levels of oxygen present, and the protagonist needs to frequently bite down on oxygen air cans to supply himself with oxygen after physical activities. The protagonist's happiness getting this job could be a sign that it is the very first he has ever had, or maybe the more harrowing possibility that the country is not in a good place currently, with the populace struggling to get jobs or healthcare. So getting a job in these times must be truly exciting. Talking through what seems to be telecom, the rookie is instructed to take the elevator and go up to the peak of the mountain, where he will meet his colleague, Mo, who will show him around. Meeting Mo after getting off the elevator, despite being able to talk, he chooses to communicate through a notebook to preserve his oxygen level and output, and the less physical activity, the less oxygen they will need to take. This will act as an important gameplay mechanic and also as part of the plot, which also revolves around transactions and everything needing something in return. Mo instructs the rookie of the tasks that there is a train that needs to constantly run without ever stopping. The train carries certain unknown cargo, which we don't know about and shouldn't know about, which goes past a very large wall, looking like a dam, which processes the cargo. The specifics are not important, as after all, the rookie is here just to do what is asked of him, without asking any questions. The result of keeping this train running, however, is that water flows from the wall, passing through a path, acting as a river which is supplied to the people of the country. This water needs to go through different levels of filtration before it is given to the people. To maintain the speed of the train at the right pace, the rookie needs to blow into a whistle at a specific contraption which operates the train. He needs to be careful with his whistle blows, however, as he could lose his breath and suffocate. To replenish his oxygen levels after certain activities, the protagonist needs to use a strangely designed air can. They have a glass part which the protagonist needs to bite hard on and break in order for the oxygen to be released. this has a side effect, as biting on the glass causes the mouth to bleed. And if you remember from before, that is why the organization offers free oral and respiratory healthcare. In order for the protagonist to get these air cans, he needs to keep the train running, as there is a machine with a laser which monitors the train movement and eventually produces a ticket which can be used at another machine to purchase these cans. It's a clear-cut transaction. The life of the rookie and the employees is just as important as their worth to the organization. If they fall behind and slack off, they will die and won't have any air cans to bite down on. Using the provided air cans also comes with a price. They get oral injuries and need to be seen by the dentist downstairs, something that makes the employees completely rely on the organization. They need to work to survive, and survival comes with a price, relying on the organization to be healthy. Each team at the mountain is color-coded and their identity is reduced to name initials. The maintenance team, which the rookie is in, label the workers as yellow clerks, and Mo is in the purple team. The workers do not really matter as individuals, but rather as cogs in a system. Mo often leaves the station to go down and attend other matters, but often comes up to help the rookie with new tasks. As he comes back up, he introduces the yellow clerk, the rookie, to the river that is flowing from the wall. The river contains some impurities such as the white matters, which are stuck at the filter. The protagonist needs to collect them with a bucket and throw them into the recycling machine, which is another way of getting tickets. In the meantime, the rookie asks himself some questions. What is the purpose of the train? Why do they use these harmful air cans instead of oxygen tanks, and why is it like a transaction? He starts raising questions against the government despite his supposed young age and excitement working for the government, that this is not right. The government seems to be using them and playing with their lives. Eventually, we come across another construction, which as soon as the rookie enters, reveals to be filled with infinite oxygen, a miracle. Positioned in a place that lacks oxygen, there we meet certain shapes and entities who are in a white void, being obscured, and beings of awe and wonder. They seem to be monitoring the employees there and supervising them. They provide the rookie with the option of asking questions, but their answers are riddled in more mystery, with information that we should take with a grain of salt, as they might be fabricated. They very likely could be lying to us. The protagonist, confused just as the rest of us, asks them the very first question. What is the sound coming from the tunnel?
The sound you hear is friction from our train passing the border. That is why it slows down. There is resistance and we must compensate it with your efforts. You may ask another question.
What is the symbolic resistance? What is stopping the train at the so-called border? And what is the efforts of the employees that they use to compensate the resistance? These entities then go on and explain that Mo has been a trusty worker for the past several years, making the train move smoothly, who in return provide Mo with great healthcare. But what fantastic service of healthcare! The only healthcare they provide is to remedy the injuries people sustain from the work, having the offices of a pulmonologist and dentist below the station. As the entities only provide 2 answers at a time, the rookie leaves to continue with his duties when Mo is back, telling the rookie to do more work. There are scattered planks of wood around, which the protagonist needs to collect and place neatly in their corresponding storage unit. That's when we learn about the predecessor to the rookie, someone known as Ni or Ni, with the protagonist being his replacement. Ni died in a tragedy, someone Mo cared about and as a result buried on the mountaintop. It might not sound too suspicious, but Mo cannot keep his mouth shut and makes a remark that Ni made a miss. The addition of this little line makes it seem like they killed Ni here because he made a mistake or something else. It doesn't end there, as Ni, who had only been working for a few days, built a bridge and went up to the viewpoint where he sees the contents of the cargo that the train was carrying. Mo explains he died as he fell from the observatory. Very suspicious, if you ask me. As Mo leaves yet again, it appears I'm not the only one having this weird feeling, but the rookie rookie is also sharing my thoughts. He thinks there's a conspiracy. Ni didn't die randomly by falling. Mo and the entities within the white void must have been involved, and it all relates to the observatory and what the train is carrying as cargo. As a result, when Mo isn't around, we build a bridge using the planks and go up to the observatory. Doing so, we find the writing left behind in red, seemingly being from blood, simply saying, "My mouth." Just from the writing, we feel the sheer horror and the feeling of despair. It is seemingly written by Ni back when he went up there and he tried to communicate something with any successor who comes after him. What is it about the mouth? Why do we have to whistle? Why do we have to bite down and break the glass in the air cans to get oxygen? And why is it the best way to deliver oxygen when it cuts the mouth, with it badly bleeding? Is this a more metaphoric message of something deeper? I wonder. Put a pin on this, as the story will get even more bizarre and eerie, taking us down a big dark rabbit hole. Just as the clerk is deep in thought, he turns around to look at the contents of the cargo, noticing it is filled with corpses. The shock makes the rookie sick, thinking if what he bites down on to deliver the oxygen is somehow related to the corpses. Just as he tries to go down, he sees Mo rushing back and destroying the bridge, which reveals he must have been the one killing Ni, causing his fall and reporting on him like a real good snitch. That is why the entities in the void refer to him as a reliable clerk, and the reason he cares deeply about Ni. At some point earlier, when he found Ni's grave and took off some rubble, Mo became furious and told us we are desecrating the grave. It's unclear if it is the guilt making him feel that way, or if he is trying to hide a secret. As Mo reports us to the entities, we are taken in by them for questioning, who present us with two choices, whether to learn the truth or resign. Choosing to resign, they tell us to go to the elevator and go home, giving us a pat on the shoulder even, that we did a good job, treating us like a good fool. As we get into the elevator, it of course crashes and the rookie dies. They then label this as an accidental death and call the president to report on the yellow clerk. On the other hand, choosing to learn about the truth, the entities informed the clerk that the remains he saw on the train were animal waste, which are due to be processed on the other side of the border, which in return turn into water, which is the river that we see going through a filtration process to quench the thirst of the country and supply it to millions of people. What we saw, of course, was not animal waste, and instead, they were human. But the beings in the void tried to gaslight us by force-feeding the idea that they were animals. Maybe to these entities, the humans that they butcher and kill are seen not any more valuable than animals, something that is already done in real life on a large scale in animal slaughterhouses and factory farms, but instead they feed us with food and sustenance. In a way, you could say the oxygen in the game, which the protagonist bites on, is even related to the recycled and processed corpses. He needs to make the train run carrying corpses so he can get tickets for the air cans. As a result, biting down on the glass stain his mouth with blood, symbolic for the bloodshed of the corpses. That is why Ni wrote on the observatory, "My mouth," pointing out to the fact that they are all the culprits participating in these horrible actions. These entities then go on a self-righteous monologue on how this is justified, how the wall is justified, how killing millions or billions is justified, and all for preserving the livelihood of hundreds of thousands of families within the country.
You didn't kill any of these animals. Your hands are clean. But balance must be found, and it is hard. The livelihood of hundreds, thousands of families, yours included.
The simple monologue unveils so much of the lore and the fact that the game starts with the line that the story is based on a true story. In the game, millions or billions of supposed animals are butchered and sent to recycling so water can be produced, which is supplied to thousands of families within the country, keeping them alive. When the rookie witnesses what is carried in the train, he simply makes the remark that they are corpses. He doesn't expand on whether they are animals or not. But as we tend to dissociate animal carcasses as corpses, mainly referring to human cadavers as corpses. It is most likely human corpses that they are talking about. The entities refer to them as animals to devalue what they are carrying and the atrocities that they commit. If they were simply animals, what's the deal with hiding it as a secret, and why would they kill anyone discovering the truth too early? To me, it seems more controversial than simple animal waste. The corpses carried in the train seem to be actually human corpses who are the consequence of the country or a nation wanting the so-called balance and the supposed way of preserving their livelihood. The entire place being the border, somewhere remote and far from the society, is a place run by the higher entities supervising the place. They monitor the employees who have limited knowledge of what they really are doing, and they prevent them from knowing the truth. They are in contact with the president and seemingly oversee an important aspect of the country running smoothly. There seems to be the government, and the entities are people in power who run the country in shadows, never revealing their identity. As a result of the nation keeping its livelihood, millions have to be killed in complete secrecy, passing the border in order to get water. People on the border have to obey the higher authorities without question. Maybe a hint what soldiers and military personnel have to do: get blood on their hands, killing people that they don't even know. If they discover too early, they are killed, and the president is called to create a fake story that they can sell to the public. Also, the employees have good healthcare and are well paid, and their families are taken care of. As the entities reveal the truth to the yellow clerk, they provide him with two more options: to resign or carry on working now that he knows the truth. Deciding to stay in the workforce, the entities then in a way confirm what the metaphor could be. They say the work here is good in comparison to what is going on out there in the world: wars and genocide. The number of countries we are provided with in the beginning and the subsequent associations, such as the largest mountain range in the country and the name of their capital in the game, gives a hint to patriotism, sense of nationality and loyalty to one's country. As soon as the rookie leaves the void, he notices the wall that looks like a dam is being overrun by a pile larger than the sea. Then the corpses of the animals keep raining from the sky, with the pile behind the wall being corpses of the animals breaking through. So the balance the entities were suggesting was nothing but a lie. A lie to convince us keep doing their dirty work. If anything, whatever is being done to preserve the supposed and the so-called way of the life of the nation and the livelihood is completely overdone, disturbing the balance. It seems as if they are getting rid of undesirables, political prisoners or activists, or simply expanding the country's soil, getting many people killed in the process, both from their side of the border and the other. The train never needed to constantly run at the pace. It was never about the balance, but it was about power and greed. Wanting more and more, having a surplus. There are a few endings here. When the animals fall from the sky and pass the border wall, they cause huge piles to build up, which allows the rookie climb them and reach a pathway, going up the mountain and escaping. This organization, which we learn to be called the Disposal Administration, calls the president to report on the yellow clerk disappearance, losing track of him. This is bad news as he has information about their dirty secrets. They then report on the leak in the tunnel and how the train keeps on going on a fast pace, causing the overflow of the animals, which they specially label as corpses. That's when we get a table of stats. The table suggests who the worker is, who is in the Yellow Watch, a team responsible for the maintenance. The table counts the number killed, saved, and the number of fallen. The number of killed reaches hundreds of thousands or even millions, while fallen seem to be the number that breached the wall. And that is with only one being able to be saved, who happens to be the duck we find in a little cave supported by planks. Now, looking at this symbolically, this would refer to how many people a country has killed in its political and war efforts for gaining whatever there is. That all goes back to greed and always wanting more. There is even mention of war and genocide, referring to the atrocities that take place during war and land expansion. The number of fallen, which happen to be the animals falling from the sky, could be the fallen soldiers in wars and battles. This is something that directly impacts the protagonist as they are right there with him. And finally, the number of saved, which happens to be only a duck who cowers in a cave, could be the sheer small number of people who can survive in political conflicts. So the train that needs to be kept running might be the cycle of world, relying on power and greed, war, death, and mass killings. The corpses on the train are the necessary evil that the people in power of governments refer to, which in turn keeps the livelihood of nations' populace. But these efforts that the entity suggested to keep the train running is not without some casualties, with the number of fallen suggesting the number of the nation populace dying in their war efforts. The entities even explain the yellow clerk doesn't have his hand bloodied, as he is simply in maintenance, even though he keeps this murderous machine running. The protagonist, even though serving this machine, needs to prove his worth if he wants to live. His life is a transaction. He needs to keep the train running, recycle the white matter or corpses, in order to prove his worth to get oxygen and live, as otherwise he would suffocate and die, which is another ending of the game. There are also some other endings to the game. If we dig up Nee's grave, we find a different black whistle in his mouth. This whistle works differently to ours, making the train reverse and go back. This is seemingly what Nee has been really up to, and that is why he was silenced and killed. The protagonist uses the black whistle, which leads to the train going back with the recycling plant behind the wall breaking, putting an end to this horrible cycle. As the train reverses, we see many corpses pouring out from the train, which is followed by actual human screams. In the conversation between the disposal administration and the president, in a panic they inform the president how this is beyond repair and that the damage control will be tough. They then go a step further, confirming these animals we see and the way they label them is nothing but a fake image and facade. They actually call them buddies. At this point, I am certain it isn't about factory farming, and the game is trying to tell us about the horrors of war and the cheap value the governments give to human lives as long as it advances their goals and greedy ambitions. No matter which nation we use, they end up with the same endings: expansion, war, and death. As the developer of the game suggested, this is a political game. He points out the game is based on true stories, and we get to choose a nation right off the bat. This train keeps on running through our efforts, a train which feeds the war machine, providing it with buddies. There are also some other interesting factors to go back to and focus on. The oxygen in the white void room felt like a depiction of societal imbalance, a contrast in power and hierarchy. How the superiors have unlimited oxygen while the workers just a few meters away have to fight for their lives and are at the verge of death and have to bite seemingly painful air cans to breathe, even though they are the cogs in the system and they are the ones running around through hard physical activity to run the train. They use the efforts of the clerks to compensate the resistance against the movement of the train into the border. This clearly means that they use the lives of employees to push through their borders, claiming more land and other assets, using force and bloodshed in order to compensate the resistance against their movements. The train also carries buddies, so it is the buddies of the soldiers. As we reverse it, the buddies drop out, being mutilated and injured badly, all screaming in horror, fear, and trauma. The game was left widely open for interpretation, and this has been mine. I have had different theories of the game being about the horrors of factory farming, which I wanted to go deeper into on this video as well, but I believe there are already really good theories about it, which you can watch on YouTube. I actually wrote a long script about how the livelihood and balance the entities talked about could also be metaphors to how we value our national dishes and associate them to our culture and heritage. But I thought it's better to just focus on this one single theory about politics, power, and the never-ending greed. Let me know if you have any other interpretations or theories down below. As always, it's been your host Star, and I'll catch you on the next video. Take care.